Do you ever wake up in the morning and you don't feel like doing anything? Like you feel like doing nothing? Or do you ever, find yourself in the office or in school and you're just wishing that can this day just be over? And do you also wish sometimes that you're as disciplined as some people that you see maybe online or on social media, that kind of get their fact, like get they're always on point, they always achieve their goals and all that. Yes, if you have ever thought like that, you are not alone. So if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Miriam. I am a wife, a mom, a fashion designer, yes, and a YouTuber. I am based here in California. I drop 2 videos every week, every Mondays and Wednesdays, and you can also catch me live on Instagram, yes, every Wednesdays. And I also go live, I live stream on YouTube every Wednesdays and Saturdays. So I'll still be going live later today. So join me. So if you're tuning here for the first time, I want to say a big thank you. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, and let's dive straight into today's topic. But today I'll be sharing an inspiring story, yes, that would help all of us, one way or the other, stay motivated. So the topic for today is how to motivate yourself, how to stay motivated by yourself. So I'll be sharing a story of a young boy named David. So David had a younger sister, who was really way young. She's a toddler, So David craved for his father's attention. His mother died of cancer when he was 4 years old. So David was he was a high school student. So when David went to school, his father would go to work, and he craved, his father's attention for a long time. Unfortunately, once his father drops him off at school, he had to go to work and, fend for the kids, of course, to earn a living so that he can take care of his children. So he really craved his father's attention, but he didn't get it. So he looked up to the boys in school, in high school, for a father figure. So David was constantly hanging out with these boys, but unfortunately, they were bad influence on him. They would tell him to go steal at a grocery store, to steal cigarettes, to steal, all kinds of stuffs, and he knew it was bad for him. So one day, his father got to spend very little time with him. So one day, David went home, from school. He was okay from a party. Yes, he went for a party with his friends. He was hanging out with his friends. And then on getting home, David saw a police van in front of the house, and he was wondering what's going on. He saw a part of the house has been burglared. Like there was a burglary. Yeah. Like, how do I put it? Like somebody has broken into the house. So apparently, when that happened, his father was awake, and they shot his dad. Unfortunately, David's dad died. On getting home, he found two policemen, talking to his kid sister. So it was a very tough time for David. And then he asked what happened. They explained everything to him, and he was like, wow, everything now rests on him. The entire responsibility. He has lost his mother to cancer when he was 4 years old, and thank you so much, guys, for joining. I see you guys, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So his father, being the only one alive now, he had to be a father figure for his sister. He had to fend for the two of them. So what happened, in David's case? David had to take up menial jobs, and then he had to drop out of school, because they had to keep the bills running. He had to keep taking care of his sister, and his sister was too young to understand. She's a toddler, So apparently, he got a job as a cleaner. He got a job as a cleaner, and then he he was able to pay the rent for a few months. So when David did that, he saw that he couldn't cope anymore. He couldn't cope with it anymore. So he had to work twice as hard. He was thinking about how to get a better job, but of course, he had no qualifications. He even doesn't have a high school certificate. So who would employ someone that has no, like, almost zero education? So he was cleaning at a mechanic workshop. He was cleaning, and then he would clean the parts, clean the floor and all that. So one day he overheard his boss, saying that he wanted to hire a mechanic for his workshop, like a main mechanic. So it was like he wants to apply. He would like to apply. The boss looked at him like this, like, you apply? What? You don't have any qualifications? What? Do you have the training and all that? And then David said, I can't do it. And then he looked at him and said, okay, I have three mechanics coming here next week for the interview. They'll be coming for the interview. You can be the fourth person. And then he said, okay, thank you for this opportunity. Thankfully, his boss was gracious enough to give him a book. It was like a mechanic 101 book, like something that would take him through, like if you're a beginner, it was a book for beginners if you're a beginner as a mechanic. So he handed his book over to him, to David. So thankfully, David read the book back to back. When he got home, he barely ate, he barely slept, because he kept thinking about his younger sister, that if I don't fend for her, what's going to happen to my kid sister? He was just thinking he had all the responsibilities on him. There was nobody, there was no family, nothing, so he had to find a way to thank you so much, Magenta Stores. So he had to find a way to, just make it work. So David kept reading this book. He kept on reading this book, and he would think by the time he's about to doze, when he's about to fall asleep, he will tell himself, hey, you can't afford to fall asleep, you have to read this thing, you have to, because you need to get this job. The success of you getting this job is dependent on you reading this book and getting to understand everything in this book. So David kept on reading the book, and all that. He will picture, when he reads, he will picture all the engines, the parts, of the car. He would picture everything, and then he would put it together in his head, and then he would continue reading. He didn't have he didn't have a car to practice, with. He didn't have anything, any resource. It was just the book that David had, and he was determined to make it work. So on the D-Day, he got to work. He had read this book back to back. He read it. He was picturing it in his head. Okay, this is what the engine looks like. This is what the bonnet. These are the parts. The car. This is what the filter looks like, and all that. So he did all of that. Consistently. He read like his life depending on it. Because every time he's reading, he thinks about the empty. The empty pantry. There's no food in the pantry, there's no food in the fridge, and then he would think about it that, oh, if I'm able to get this job, I'll be able to buy food so I can take care of my sister, and we can live a better life. He kept on thinking about the winter that is coming. He had to find money to be able to pay for heater and all that. Anyways, those were his motivations. So on the D-Day, 3 mechanics showed up at the workshop, and they had their tools on, they had their towels on their neck, they had their tools. And so his boss said, okay, here are 4 cars. Okay, so each of the mechanics took over 1 car each, to start the engine. So he said to them, these cars don't work. And then he told David, okay, you can have my tools, just so you can also work like that, because he had nothing on him. So the boss was gracious enough to give David his tools, to work with. So there were 4 cars, and then 3 experts, 3 professional mechanics were there to compete for the same job that David doesn't have an idea about. So David was working. He kept on toiling. He kept on, checking what the issue was, because he wanted to. They had to start. It was okay. The job was going to be given to the first person that is able to start his car. Is able to start the engine. So he was working. Thank you, Alima, for joining. I see you. Thank you. I appreciate you. So David, kept on working, and the more he worked on this, what's it called? But the more he worked on it, he would swear. He would just imagine the book that he read. He would say, okay, this part was joined to this part, and this is why this thing has to roll. He kept on working, and then at some point he saw, but the job is dependent on the first person who is able to start the engine of his car. So he just, kept on working and working. And then all of a sudden, he kept remembering the lines of the book he read, and then he remembered there was a part that said you have to clean the filter. That if the filter is dirty, it can stop the engine from working. So David just, he took it upon himself to clean the filter of the car. So as he was cleaning the filter of the car, the engine started, and that was how David was able to get the job. His boss called into the office and said, congratulations, you just got this job. But I want to ask you a question. Were you really a mechanic? Like, did you really know about this job? Don't lie to me. And he said he did it, but he was determined to do all it takes, to learn about this job before the due dates. So the moral of this story is that David went against all odds. He found the motivation within himself. He found the motivation, in his family, his younger sister, his kid sister. He had to take care of his kid sister. He had to make things happen one way or the other. He realized there was nobody for him. There was no family. There was no friend. There was nothing, nobody, to assist him or to come to his aid or to, fend for his family except him. So honestly, please comment, just comment where you're watching from and what you gained from this story. And the truth is, I just want to keep this conversation going, and don't forget to also click on the like button. So thank you, sis. I appreciate you. So at the end of the day, ask yourself, what is your motivation for whatever it is that you want to do? Where are you coming from? Is it that you don't want to go back to where you're coming from? When you think about it, that I don't ever want to go back to this place, that alone should motivate you. That alone should get you going. That alone should, make you lose sleep. Like, you should not even think about sleeping. Just think about making that thing work. Are you always complaining that you're broke? If you're someone that wants to get out of that kind of situation, then you need to work twice as hard and remind yourself consistently. It depends. It could be someone that was struggling with alcohol addiction. It could be alcohol addiction. It could be tobacco addiction. So if it's something that you are struggling to stop or put an end to, please, that alone should motivate you to push, to keep pushing. And if it's, remember that your comfort zone is a place where nothing grows. And you should always constantly remind yourself as well. If it is about you starting a YouTube channel, or you starting your own business, or starting, a college, or getting admission to study in a college, getting a college degree, So remember the things that motivate you. Remember those things that you want to run away from. Because I've come to realize with time, that it is easier to run away from something than to run towards something. What am I trying to say? It is easier to try and run away from poverty. Yes, you want to run away from poverty. It is easier to do that than chasing maybe $1 million. You know what I mean? So honestly, you have to think, and the truth of the fact of the matter is, when you look at great artists that you and I know today, people like Tiffany Haddish, people like Tyler Perry, people like what's it called? Viola Davis. Yes, these people should motivate you. If you get to read about their story and where they are coming from, that was what pushed them. That was what motivated them to become great, the greats that we know them as today. Yes, so please go ahead and set your goal. What is that thing that you want to do? I'm sorry, this is getting longer than usual, but I need to, reiterate on this point. So what's that thing that you're working on that you want to do? What's that? So start by setting a goal. So do you want to lose weight? Yeah, it could be a weight loss goal. It could be to launch a business. Give yourself a date, a launch date. That this is the date I want to start my business. Whatever business you want to do, please go ahead, set a goal for yourself. And if you want to apply for a college degree, go ahead. If you want to start a YouTube channel, go ahead and set that goal for yourself. Or you want to start a podcast, or you want to start making residual income, that is, you want to earn money while you're sleeping, now is the time. Remind yourself, what are those things that you want to do? Or you want to launch a digital product, go ahead and launch it. Nothing is stopping you. Yes, and you can also go ahead and get an accountability partner. In case you're looking for one, you can feel free to join my Facebook group. It is called Business Moguls, and we inspire people to become better version of themselves, to take their business ideas to the next level. So if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to add you to the group. Just click on the link in my description or in my bio. Yes, and another thing is, join a group of like-minded people, like I just said. Yes, so my group can offer that to you. I hope with these few points of mine, I have been able to convince you and not confuse you that you can actually motivate yourself. Motivation can actually come from within, not from outside. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me. If you're yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave your comments after watching. I always reply every single comment made on my channel. So I'll see you again next week with another powerful and exciting episode. Till then, keep winning and keep shining, and join me tonight live on YouTube. God bless you all. Bye for now.